Hari Om Tat Sat to everyone. Welcome to our exploration of Book 2 of the Yoga Sutras. It's the part of the book where he's going to give us practical techniques we can add into our life as we strive to remove the obstacles. So Book 2 is entitled The Path to Self-Realization, or the sadhana. Sadhana means your practices that we do to help us to reach samadhi. So he ended book 1 with the different steps of samadhi, self-realization. And as he starts book 2, he's going to help us to do practices, which he has already did. So he's going to give us practices which he used to help him purify his mind. And if we follow in those footsteps, we'll be able to get that same place as well. So sadhana part, he starts off book 2 with a powerful word. You come across this word, tapasya. Tapasya means austerities, or something that creates challenge. So every one of us have our comfort of living, and we all know when we step out of that comfort, something is not comfortable, it becomes a little challenging. So that's what the yogis call tapasya. So he starts book 2 with that word tapasya. So let's see what this is translated. It says, accepting pain as help for purification, study of spiritual books, and surrender to the Supreme Being constitute yoga in practice. Then the next mantra says, they help us minimize obstacles and attain samadhi. So some beautiful, so he gives three aspects that he recognized that has helped him. And again, he's writing from his perspective, right? Another yogi will say, there's 4 or there's 5. We don't get too rigid, but from his experience, he's saying 3 things. And he used the word tapasya. He used the word swadhyaya. Swadhyaya also not only studying spiritual books, but also self-study, right? Swadhyaya, self-study. And then Ishvara Pranidhan. So surrender to the Supreme Being. So let's, in our daily life, like I said, everyone is at their own level of living. So whichever aspect of life you're living, you can categorize that as your comfort zone. Yes, your comfort zone. Anything that's out of your comfort zone becomes a tapasya. And so the yogis, we don't wait for natural catastrophe to trigger those tapasyas. We go out of our comfort zone purposefully, consciously, to challenge our mental state. So right now, on the planet, all over the planet, everyone is doing the tapasya of social distancing, right? Because we're out of the comfort zone. It takes the mind has to go through purification to actually be one place, in one space. Like when I heard the word quarantine, right? It's a powerful word. It became so popular in the last 3 to 4 months. Yes. Oh, we have to quarantine. When I heard it and I reflected on it, I was like, whoa. I have lived in the Himalayas, quarantine, purposefully living like a yogi. I'm trained for it. Now, because of the virus, we're telling humans who've never quarantined before in primary school or high school or college, they've never done it before. And then you're asking people to quarantine. The mind might do it for the first month easier. By the second month, it becomes a reality. It became a tapasa. Oh, when is I want to go to the beach. I want this restaurant, this. The mind start. By the third month, it gets even more. So the tapasya will build over time. Now, this one has imposed itself on us. Quarantine. You're keeping because of a fear of health. So because of that fear of health, you purposely discipline your body and mind to be extremely clean. How many times are you washing our hands these days compared to before, right? Tapasya of cleanliness. It's amazing. We needed something like this to trigger a certain level of cleanliness. People have to go out of their comfort zone of cleanliness to actually keep their body and mind and clean even more. So it's tapasya for some people to be with their mind and with no one around and just be with your mind. It's amazing, yes? Even when people are quarantined today, people still use their senses to try and get a break through the TV and through different things. But could you imagine when I was in the Himalayas, purposefully, no computer, no TV, no mobile phone, no radio, nothing. So the yogis, and not just the yogis, but anyone, I think people from time to time would go and do austerities like that, yes? Where you challenge your body and mind. Okay, I'm going to turn my senses inwards. So I like to tell students, because we live in the West, and that's not possible for many people. Many people don't have the karma I had, where I landed in the Himalayas as a teenager. So many people don't have that karma. So does that mean you can't do it? No. So I like to encourage students who live in the West at least 1 week out of the year. Like a lot of people take vacation, yes? And it's nice to go learn of different cultures, but 1 week out of the year, do a spiritual vacation as well. 1 week where maybe you go stay in an ashram, or you go, you just step out of the comfort zone. And just that 1 week of where you're getting up, because in an ashram, you're getting up early, you're sleeping early, you're living like a yogi, right? It's tapasya, it creates heat in us, it's purification. That 1 month of mental discipline will allow you to go through the next 11 and a half, that 1 week, sorry, the next 11 3/4 week of life in a more balanced way. Because you turn the senses inwards to connect to your higher self. So when you come out, you're not the same person. If you meditate for 10 minutes, you come out of it, the mind has changed. Could you imagine you're doing it for 1 week? Just imagine 1 week, you turn your senses in. Oh, wow, nothing to pull you. Just be with yourself and be with other people who are like-minded phrase. It's amazing. So we can do that. Another one we can do is so-called self-study, yes? The word swadhyaya, it's not just means study spiritual, it means self-study. So if we want a peace of mind, then the yogis, we purposely look at the senses and see which one of the senses are pulling me a lot. Why is it pulling me? Why am I giving into it? So when you scan yourself and you think, oh man, one of the ones which I think is so hard for people today. So I developed a weekend around it. We used to do it upstate New York. We call it digital detox. Yes, it's amazing. So I like to tell students, this one you can do at home, even for one day. For one day, 24 hours, because you don't switch on the phone, right? So no social media, nothing. Just for one day, it's tapasya. For today, some people can't even put down their phone for 3 minutes. The mind, where's my phone? It's amazing. It's like, as far as I know, when we took birth, we came out of our mother's womb with the head first, and then one arm, and then the body, and then the other arm. Yes, that's how we were born. Legs come out after. But it seems like today, when we come out of our mother's womb, it seems like the head comes out, one arm comes out, and the other arm comes out with the mobile phone. It's amazing, right? Because it's like constantly in your pocket. So I check myself. And every day, I stay away from the phone, everything. I stay away for 2 hours. I just keep it at bay, where it's no longer pulling me. So these are tapasyas. So we can look for little things in our life. What is pulling me? Yeah. Why is this pulling me? Why am I giving into it? Let's do a little austerity. Let's keep it at bay. Don't let it pull us. So this is tapasya we can do while we're living in our daily life, right? Wow, I'm so addicted to sugar. Oh wow, you hear that phrase a lot. I have a sweet tooth. So okay, let's do a little tapasya. Today, instead of eating so many sweets, I'll just have half of it today. Or if it's just one day, do without. Just go for it. Give your mind, and then you'll see your mind will be screaming out loud. I need sugar. Oh, it's only for a while. And then the mind gets calm. And then the next day come and you feel, oh wow, the taste starts to go out. You have full control over it. So every one of us, when we introspect ourselves, when we look at ourselves and our senses and how they work, we will find something is overriding. Something is pulling us too strong. One of the senses is too strong. So let's do a little tapasya. Control it. So that's the self-study. And tapasya, yeah, they go together. Because when you scan yourself, then you can see which austerity to perform. One of the tapasya the yogis they do is to live with nature. It's not really a tapasya, but it has become a tapasya now for humans because we don't live with the movements of the planets anymore. So the tapasya for the yogis, which has become a tapasya now, is for rise before the sunrise. Yes, the yogis normally get up to greet the sun. It's a beautiful thing to greet the sun. So the only way you'll be able to consistently get up early before the sun is if you go to sleep early. So you have to train your mind to sleep early. That's the tapasya. Because if you don't go to sleep early at night, and what do we do in nighttime? Is it something productive? Or a lot of times people are just shooting the breeze, surfing the internet. Nothing really, but if you just, okay, now the moon has come up, let me connect with the moon energy, go to sleep. You'll get up naturally early. And when you get up naturally early, it's a tapasya. It becomes, especially when it's winter time, right? When it's winter time, you don't want to get up and do your asana and stuff because the mind, so it's more challenging. So it's those little things you want to see. What's giving me challenges? Let's do it. And when you do it, trust me, your whole life change. Your frequency about your whole life change. Positive things starts to manifest. Because you didn't give in to the senses. A little austerity, little work. This is a nice one. It's easy to do when I'm in Hawaii because I'm stranded here right now. But when I'm in New York, it's a challenge, but I still do it. Taking a cold shower. The yogis, when in the Himalayas, I remember I got there and I was like, everyone takes that in that freezing Ganges water. That river, you see the smoke coming off, this like so cold. You open your mouth, the crystallization of the coldness comes, you can see the foam, right? And then you have to take a bath in there. And I was like, whoa. And I would see yogis, they go and immerse themselves, tolerate it. They understand it only lasts for a while. The first time I took a bath in that river, I was like less than 5 seconds. I was in the and the teeth, and then after a while, my body, my mind got stronger and stronger, immersed in it. And up to today, I still take cold showers. So the cold showers help to the immune system to build. It allows the prana to flow through the veins and austerities. So in the West, I like to tell students, if you want to try it, it's not for everyone, but if you want to try it, then start off with a warm shower first. Start off warm, and then end with that nice cold. It wakes you up. It pulls you out of tamas. That's why the yogis do it. And it's a nice time to do it is morning time, right? Because you just came out, you're still goggy and tamas, the mode of ignorance. So the cold shower snaps you out. And so when you go to meditate, this doesn't happen. No, the cold shower already reviving you, so the prana is moving. So if you want to try it as well. So look at your life, scan your life. Where's my comfort zone? And then everyone is different. Every one of us know our comfort zone. So everyone introspect, self-study, and then, okay, let's try and do a little step out of the comfort zone. Trust me, when you do it, you will grow mentally strong. You will have more control over the mind and the senses. And there's a certain pleasure, a certain joy that comes when you do it. And it's like, oh, wow, I am growing, yes? And you'll not only take that mental power from that experience, but to every aspect of your life. So when you run into something that's not normal, you know how to keep going through it, tolerate it, go through it. So that's what we're doing when you're doing little tapasya. You're strengthening the mind so that when obstacles come in your way, you can get over them. That's the next way. He said, they help us to minimize obstacles, these austerities. And the Swami translated as well as studying spiritual books. So beside your self-study, understanding the mind, and when I was learning, my teacher used the phrase self-study instead of, he didn't use spiritual books, but because there are some people or some yogis, they are illiterate. They don't know to read. So what does that really translate? It means self-study. Your book right here, your mind, your body is an amazing biography. So you study here. And then it also means to study books. So we call spiritual books any book that is uplifting and connecting you to divinity. Yes? So if you look at the planet, right? The most common spiritual books are like the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the Gita. Those are like the most common one. But it's not just ends there. I like to, because most of those are basically history books, yes? They're books of everything from a long time ago. So if you study biographies as well, what you start to see in those biographies is a spiritual being who goes through a lot of obstacles and evolve. That spiritual force comes through them. So you shouldn't just limit it to what we call the spiritual textbooks for religion. It's much more than that. It's about a spiritual being because they're written by evolved beings. So when you see someone who has evolved, who's inspired you, you read that book is going to help you to raise your vibration as well. So spiritual biographies as well. And when you read it, connect you, right? You connect to a divinity. Oh, wow. This person went through their ups and downs. Because that's what's in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, a lot of amazing souls who went through their challenges and then they overcame it. The Gita is the same thing. Arjuna is going through challenges, he overcame it. So when you read biographies, you see how people made it to where they are, but they didn't start off smoothly. A lot of them went through a lot of obstacles. So as you go through the obstacle, we can get inspired by those beings as well. And then he says, so that's the third thing. So accepting austerity. He says, then self-study, explore your self-study, or studying history, spiritual books. And the third one he says is, the third thing he says, he categorizes surrendering to the supreme being constitute yoga in practice. Because the word yoga means to unite. And the rishis, when they develop this practice, yoga is a philosophy. So the philosophy is to help you to unite what? To connect what? To connect our spiritual being with divinity. So in the Sanskrit words, we would say connecting the Atma with Paramatma, or Atma with the Ishta Devata. In the Western world, we'll hear the phrase, your soul, connecting your soul to God. Yes? So what does that really mean? And how to surrender, right? That phrase has a certain like, oh, whoa, surrender. I don't want to serve. Immediately a part of our mind does this, not ready to surrender, yes? So it's a beautiful aspect, because what it means, this third aspect he's referring to is referring that our consciousness evolved to experience and understand there's no way to escape divinity around us. We cannot escape it. So if you cannot escape something, then you just surrender to it. You just appreciate it. If you're in the ocean and you're on a little raft and your mind just wants to reach land, you create a tension right there. Where's the land? Where's the land? You create a tension. Whereas if your mind accepts, oh wow, I'm just surrounded by water, your whole perception change. And then before you know it, you accept that you're in the water and you keep going, then land will come. So it's just your perception. So divinity is around us all the time. And when you can understand that divinity is around us all the time, then it's easy to appreciate it. And surrender is not a surrender by force, right? There's two types of surrender. There's a materialistic surrender where someone subjugates you. You surrender by brute force. They have you surrender. Or there's something called spiritual surrender, a surrender of love. So when you understand God's divinity around us, then we can surrender to God out of love. There's two ways of surrender, not the material surrender, but spiritual surrender. So have you ever tried to force someone to love you? It never works, right? You have to love me. You have to love me. You can't, the person might surrender, okay. No, that's not what you want. You want to act in a way, treat the person in a way, deal with them humanely, and then they'll naturally love you. Yes? So similarly, God is doing so much for us. And as we open our consciousness, whoa, I cannot create that sun that's given me so much. I cannot create the moon that's given me so much. What's the most important thing in our life right now is our breath. I cannot create oxygen. So it just takes a little evolution to recognize, wow, I've been given so much. And understand that, wow, this is out of unconditional love. When that's there, then there's a love that connects us to divinity. And it's a surrender of love. It's not a surrender of force. So when you hear surrender to the Supreme Being, a lot of people get scared. No, it's not about getting scared. It's about true love. And again, we use this word love, but what does love really describe? It's describing a force, a powerful force coming out of the Atma, the spiritual self, which attracts people and bring people together and allow us to experience a pleasurable ambience of kindness and respect and just compassionate. So that's what it's all about. So he says these three things are needed for us to overcome our obstacles. Accept tapasya. Step out of your comfort zone. Study history books, spiritual history books. And then when you recognize divinity around you constantly, you will naturally surrender to divinity out of love. So the yogis, you know, we evolve at our own pace. So the degree you surrender is where you're at your own evolution. Some people, you can see, they can connect to divinity immediately. Some people take somewhat a little more steps. They get there eventually. We all get there because pure love is already in the heart. So the yogis describe it's like a bulb and it's covered with paint, green paint, red paint. When you switch the light on, it comes out a little darkish. But as you start to scrape off the paint, so as you start to remove the false perception, the false ego, the purity of the Atma comes out. And then that sweet, loving surrender manifests. So that's where we want to go. So he says, when we have these three things in our practice, we will be able to minimize the obstacles and attain samadhi. That's the next mantra he says. Minimize. Who wants to minimize obstacles in life? All of us, right? So how do we minimize those obstacles? He says, step out of the comfort zone. Study the books that the rishis left behind. Study the books that other spiritual evolved humans, being their biographers, read them and connect to divinity and gradually humble the consciousness towards divinity. When we can understand how much gifts we have been given, the gift of the voice box, the gift of the eyes, the gift of the limbs, you just get humbled with love. And it's like, wow, we are being loved continuously every day, every second. We have to tap into it. And then we'll overcome the obstacles. So that's mantra 1 and mantra 2. Let's meditate on it. Let's stretch the legs out, wiggle the ankles, shake the legs, and then when the legs are comfortable, cross them back into a nice, comfortable seated posture. Bring the palms onto the knees, touch the tip of the thumbs, tip of the index fingers. Close the eyes softly. Before we can introspect the mind, the body, we put the body and mind into stillness, kaya sthiram, stillness of the body. Take your awareness to the right foot, toes to the heel. Right foot is still. To the left foot is solid. To the entire right leg, toes passing the calf, the knee, the thigh to the right hip girdle. Entire right leg is immovable. To the entire left leg is stable. Take the awareness to the pelvic floor, the glutes, the lower back, the front of the pelvis. The entire pelvic floor is grounded. To the entire back from the glutes to the shoulders, the entire back is still. Take the awareness to the right hand, fingertips to the wrist. Right hand is steady. Left hand is solid. To the entire right arm, from the fingertips passing the wrist, the forearm, the elbow, the upper arm to the right shoulder blade. The entire right arm is immovable. to the entire left arm, fingertips to shoulders. The entire left arm is stable. Take your awareness to the neck. The neck is motionless. To the head is completely still. As the physical body moves into deeper states of stillness, as time progresses, let's work on quieting the mind. Liberate the mind into the now, into the present moment. Become aware of your amazing breath at the entrance of the nostrils. Try not to control the breath, just witnessing the breath. And as you witness the breath, your mind is naturally brought into the present moment. Identify the slight temperature change of the breath. The incoming breath is slightly cooler. The outgoing breath with your body's heat is slightly warmer. Move into the practice of Ujjayi Pranayama and Khetri Mudra. Curl the tip of your tongue as far back as you can on the upper palate. Maybe behind the upper teeth, maybe halfway up, or maybe even further back without any strain. And as you keep touching the upper palate with the tip of the tongue, allow the air to make a soothing sound as it passes the epiglottis. I'll demonstrate it. Breathe slowly as possible and allow your mind to dwell into the ocean-like sound of the breath. After you complete the next exhalation, return the tongue to the bottom of the mouth and move into Mona Pranayama. The opposite of Ujjayi pranayam, silent breathing. Breathe slowly as possible in and out, and silently as possible, allowing the mind to dwell into the silence of the breath. Keep the breath silent. Gaze into your mind space, that space behind the forehead, and take the next couple minutes to introspect your comfort zone. Introspect which one of your senses are pulling you more, and recognize you want to have a peace of mind. So recognize that for you to have a peace of mind, we want to control that sense that's pulling us, that object that's pulling us, and step out of that comfort zone and plant a sankalpa to challenge the mind to overcome that sense pull. Scan your whole life now, and you know yourself better than anyone else. Contemplate something. It can be one thing, and it can be a small thing, or it can be a big thing. And maybe you do the austerity for it for one day, or maybe a week, maybe a month. Put your time frame on it and give yourself that beautiful challenge. Yogis call it that tapasya. And after you find that tapasya you want to do, keep your sankalpa positive. An example, I stop eating at 7 p.m. But stop can be negative. So we want to change that pattern. I will eat only up to 7 p.m. So keep it positive. I will not check my phone after 9 p.m. Turn it into a positive. I will only use my phone until 9 p.m. So whatever you choose, try and keep it positive as possible. When you plant it in the mind 3 times, now you know your challenges, your creativity. Excellent. As we purify the mind with such sankalpa, we want to purify the intellect as well. Patanjali says, studying history books, spiritual history books. Maybe there's a spiritual book you want to read, which you haven't read. It's the back of your mind for a few. Plant it in the mind that you will read this book within this time frame. Put a time frame for it. And in your mind's vision, see yourself completing that, reading that book with the realizations of the book. At the end, see yourself completing the book, turning the last page of that book on that certain date. And know that you have the willpower to move it from the mind into the three-dimensional realm we're living. And the third concept Patanjali gives for us to minimize our obstacles is out of love, recognizing God's love around us continuously. We're humbled by God's love, by divinity's love. So much so, it is so easy for us to be an instrument of that love. When we humble the consciousness and surrender to that divinity, we can see that divinity can work through us. Recognize the many facets of God's unconditional love to you right now. All the gifts you've been given, from your toes to your spleen, to your eyes, to the planets of the sun, moon. Take this next few minutes to just explore the gifts you've been given from God. As we recognize these amazing gifts we've been given of an amazing temple, of amazing body, we want to respect the body. We want to keep it pure, keep it vibrant, healthy. All the amazing gifts in the form of our relationships. These are extension of God's love, our family members. We want to respect them. We want to cherish that. We want to respect and serve them. Our life partners, our kids, our parents, our friends, all gifts from God. When we have this perception, we will be able to overcome our obstacles more and more as the tension will fall away from our heart space, from our mental space, when we can respect our gifts. The gift, especially the gift of our breath. Bring your focus to your breath once again. Recognize this breath is keeping you alive, keeping every living entity alive. And this breath is non-sectarian. This breath has no gender. This breath is beyond, because it's a spiritual force that's coming with the breath. The more we appreciate the breath as God's expression of love to us, we'll appreciate every other living entity as God's expression of love. Every living entity is an expression of divinity. We want to connect to each other like that from this higher space. Take a deep inhalation. Exhale slowly. Move the fingers slowly. Bring the palms to the heart. Lower your head towards your higher self, that being who is taking that austerity, purposely trying a new austerity over the next day or the next week or the next month. Trying to discipline the mind, control the senses, and purify the intellect by reading a spiritual book for the next week or 2 weeks or a month. And surrender to the Lord in the heart, out of love, not out of fear, out of force, out of pure love, when we recognize divinity everywhere. Namaste. Lift the head, open the eyes. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you all so much for joining the session today as we start to explore Book 2. Book 2 is very rich with so many beautiful practices. It's one of my favorite. I mean, all the books are amazing, but in the teacher training, I normally just always have to rush through half of Book 2, but we'll go through it really meditatively with it. And then there's Book 3, amazing. Book 4, he takes us on a beautiful journey. So this journey, he's preparing us all the different practices. So the sankalpas you planted in the mind, let's work on them, bring them out, do the little austerity. And again, even if it's a small austerity, that's already good for the mind. If you have a big one, go for it. Have fun. We are all on our evolutions. Different people have different austerities. Thank you all so much. I see you tomorrow for some relaxation. Hari Om. Thank you so much, Matilda. Thank you, Basha. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Yogi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mahalo, Noel. Mahalo, Greg. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yumiko.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Nan.
Thank you, Yogi Charu.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, Diana. Mahalo, Kai. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Constantina. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Parastu. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Mahalo, Paula.
Thank you, Yogi Charu.
Thank you, Helen Anselin.
Thank you, Yogi Charu.
Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.